Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our preview for the Blacklist Season 10, Episode 10. Hey, Mr. Postman. The title of this episode is The Postman. There's is the Postman natural habitat the post office? Like, there's a lot of different things to get into with that, but no, the big push of this episode really is where in the bleep does this show go from here? Because it was a pretty definite ending to episode 9.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, now that Reddington has basically erased any connection he has with the task force, and he's really ruined the relationship that he has with Harold, I just don't know what's going to happen with the rest of the show.
We've got some theories. Rest assured, we are going to talk through all of this. There's a lot of different ideas, possibilities. Before we go further, though, go ahead and hit that subscribe
Yeah.
button. We had a full review of this past awesome, twisty episode. We want you
Amazing.
guys to check that out.
Yeah, and we've also got a bunch of other shows that we're covering here
Yep.
at the channel. Succession, Yellow Jackets, Ted Lasso, we're covering Survivor. So hit that subscribe button and stick with us. And also head over to our Instagram, give that a follow. We have all kinds of
Yeah.
cool pictures up from over the weekend.
That is Matt and Jess TV.
Yeah.
All right. So, first and foremost, I mean, we just have to talk about this mostly through the lens of Cooper because he is the person who is obviously the most hurt, the most upset about all this. He really has to find a way to want to work with Reddington again. And that is where I'm going to put on a tinfoil hat and maybe put on
Oh,
the hard.
early.
I'm gonna put on the hard hat at the same time because it's gonna make people. Yeah, there you go. It's gonna make people probably upset. But I have a big take on this. Is that
Here we go.
the episode after this one is The Man in the Hat. And that is an episode that we have speculated about here and there that I think it's going to be this big Reddington tour de force. I don't think there's going to be a lot of Spader in this weekend's episode. I think we're going to have this sort of deal where we get maybe a few minutes of him. Maybe these episodes were kind of filmed around the same time. And, a lot of the Reddington goodness is going to be saved for that episode.
I think that's a pretty good take. And yeah, I think we're going to have to put our hard hats on for that one because I know, like you guys, we love having Reddington
Yes.
as much as possible in all these episodes. I mean, this last episode was all Reddington, beautiful monologues.
Yes.
I mean, he was back in full force. It was so good. But the way that they left this last episode with Harold and how much of a chump he looks like, how embarrassed he feels, like he's unable to really explain some of the things that Reddington has done. He's not even sure if he wants to have any kind of relationship with him anymore. I had said this in the review. I'll say it again. They have to really convince me that Harold has moved past it and why. So if this is a Harold episode, which looking from the synopsis, it probably is going to be a Harold heavy episode, I am fine with that if they give me what I need to believe that he would ever move forward working with Reddington again. Now, I'm not talking about his relationship necessarily with Agnes because I can't see a situation where Harold is like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm so mad at you, I'm going to take you away from Agnes. I don't think that that's where they're going with this.
Yeah.
But work-wise, I can see Harold being like, "Oh, you want to erase yourself from the task force? Bye."
I think Harold is pretty good at compartmentalizing. You probably have to be an FBI agent, let
Yep.
alone one who has worked as long as he has. Even if we don't get a lot of Reddington in this episode, which, I'm just throwing things out there, nobody really knows. There are photos of him and Cooper and Agnes and doing something together. So clearly Cooper is okay, like you said, just allowing him to be around on sort of a personal level. Maybe he is Pinky and Agnes are going to create another cooking video. I know there were some people out there that were like, did Reddington show up in just like a tiny frame of that? Like, is that going to be something that comes back to bite him later on?
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, I can't see her uh, letting that happen. I mean, if he's that clear with her and they have that good of a relationship,
Yeah.
if he says, please don't, put me online, I don't want to be online, I can't see Agnes then being like, oh, he won't mind this a little bit. I know kids are kids and
Yeah.
kids do, things that they shouldn't be doing. But I mean, I just don't see her doing that.
To me, the whole purpose of that cooking scene, and then whatever this scene is coming up in the Postman, I think it's just to remind us of why Reddington is still really around at this point. Because Wu Jing is gone, so he
Mhm.
doesn't have to worry about that threat anymore. He's wiped his entire history with the task force.
He's
Just
gone, basically.
yeah, he's off the map. He doesn't need to worry about that. So, why would he still be around? I think it's two different reasons. It's number one, Agnes, his relationship with her, that matters a lot to him.
Yes.
And I think, too, there are still threats out there on the blacklist that at some point need to be taken care of in order for, his project to be complete. We go all the way back to that, like, 30-year project that was referenced a while ago. Like, I don't think that's done at this point.
I think that it probably is. I think the 30-year project was Liz, so I think it's like she was about 30 years old when everything all went
Yeah, I guess so.
sideways. But I do think there is still more going on with that. I think it's not completely all together. I do think we're going to be moving into this second half of the season here with more of sort of what you said, the background of Reddington, sort of where does he go from here? Who is he? What now that he's kind of cut himself off from the task force, I'm hopeful that we're going to get a lot more of what you said, that it's going to be more kind of Reddington focused on his background, the man in the hat. Who is he? Who is he?
I would love it if there were some answers coming on this in the immediate future. I mean, the reality with this show is we have seen this play out multiple times where we get a big story arc,
Yeah.
that story arc ends, and then there's like a few episodes where they're just sort of like twiddling their thumbs, they're buying their time, they're setting the table. I know this is the final season. They could accelerate things a little bit. I think just the best case scenario to me in the Postman is just at the end of this episode, we at least get a better sense as to is there another big bad that Reddington is fighting? Is he deploying a bearded Reddington that we talked about from the first episode that's out there doing some stuff? Is that a threat? Like, what is the next big target? I think we at
Yeah.
least need a nugget of that.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of different directions it could go. Yes, we've talked about the bearded Reddington and
Yeah.
how Aram saw him in the first episode and was like, hey, hey, Mr. Reddington. And he looked at him like, who are you?
Yeah.
I don't know you. And I don't know if it was Reddington kind of just pretending to not know him so that he could continue on with what he was doing, or this is a person who just really didn't know him, and there is this bigger mystery that's going to unravel who Reddington really is. Or if we're going to be setting up for something that we've talked about
Yeah.
before, could there be a spin-off coming up of number 2? Who's number 2 on the list? That is still out there. We're in the final season. Who is it? Who's number 2? Could it be somebody that's so connected to Reddington, a
Yeah.
really sort of big person that could end up actually being with everybody in the task force, in the post office, working with them going forward?
I think it's all going to come down to when you guys decide. And I'm saying you guys as though you Blacklist writers are watching and they haven't written the rest of the season already. But when you guys decide to bring number 2 into the fold, because I do think I do think we're going to see number 2 at some point. Like they know that's the last big number mystery that they have out there. The most convenient, just like, okay, guys, is that, this Reddington is number 2 and he's number 2 on his own blacklist. And it's just
Mhm.
like, you guys could go there, but that's not as much fun to me. Like I don't need it to be like that. It's his list. Why would he put himself on his own list?
Maybe he's his own worst enemy. Oh,
Oh,
or if he's not the real Raymond Reddington, then the real Raymond Reddington, should he be alive,
yeah.
would be a threat to him because he could be somebody who could expose him as the imposter.
Okay, so there's another couple of things to talk about here. Like you've got an inmate who is causing some chaos at like a high security prison, and that's gonna lead to the task force like investigating some sort of like smuggler known as the Postman. Like
Mhm.
first and foremost, how many prison breaks do we need to see on the Blacklist? Well, I guess technically this isn't necessarily a prison break, but it's just like if you're causing this much chaos and there's
Yeah.
just like all this fighting, go what's the real purpose of this as a prison? Is it just like you're bored?
And it's going to be interesting too because the synopsis also reveals that Cooper's going to be revisiting his past ties to the Postman. So, I
Yeah.
mean, is this, all new story for him? Very well might be. Feels like it.
We also have Herbie in the photos. I'm
Mhm.
assuming he's basically just gonna have his job at the task force at this point. There's also a promo that's out there.
I'm
Like,
I'm rolling my eyes because there's just a lot of recycled footage in
yeah.
there. I mean, there is like a quick shot of Weecha in there, but is she actually coming back? We've seen promos. We'll all remember
Yes.
all
Yes.
those promos that had Liz in them when she was missing from the show for like weeks on end.
And they've also put so much like little things into like 10 seconds that it's like hard. You have to like watch them frame by frame, and at a certain point, you're like, you know what?
Stop it.
Yeah,
Just no,
this is
just
too
stop.
exhausting. I don't need to do this with my life. I'm just gonna go by your synopses. I'm gonna go by your photos, and we will theorize from there. It's not like any other promo in the past told us there were gonna be two post offices or anything.
No.
Okay, well, we will be back, of course, to discuss the Postman in
Mm.
full. So hit that subscribe button, you guys. Don't miss any of that. Share your theories in the comments, and we will see you here next time.